Hello, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner, and I am Jackie. And today I'm going to film a review of Hunted by Meagan Spooner. This is a retelling of one of my favorite fairy tales. Well, actually, more like the Disney movie is my favorite version of the fairy tale. I mean, I liked the original version, but the original fairy tale I don't know who the author is. I think it's Gaston Leroux. Is that the guy who wrote Phantom of the Opera, or did he write both? I don't know. I think it's actually right here. Let's see. Can I see it? No, it's not. Never mind. I think he was the same author, maybe he was. I don't know. I'm not gonna waste time trying to figure that out. But it's my favorite Disney fairy tale. So I have the original fairy tale. It was a gift given to my sister by my cousin Justin. So I've read it, but I do prefer the Disney movie version more so than the original fairy tale. But so this particular one I think is the most accurate to the original fairy tale than any other versions that I've read. Okay. Which despite the fact that I don't like the original fairy tale, I kind of like that it's a lot closer and follows the original fairy tale a little bit more than the other ones. It's a little different. Like, I've only read a few. Like, I've seen a lot. I mean, I feel like I've read a lot more because I've seen a lot of movies, and then there's, Once Upon a Time, when I used to watch that show. But a lot of movies that I feel like kind of explore similar themes to the Beauty and the Beast story. Like, not that all these guys are beasts per se, but they kind of have the traits in it. Their personality traits kind of remind me a little bit, a tiny bit. And then I read Akatar by Sarah J. Maas, which I liked. It's not my favorite, but I do like it, and like everybody else, I prefer Akamath. And I've read, and then I recently read Cruel Beauty, and I ended up getting this one around when I bought Cruel Beauty because I was hoping to read more retellings. And I might check out Haven, which is, I think it's a role reversal version of the story, but one of the booktubers that I like, that I trust her opinion, which, I mean, she loved this book, and I loved it too, so I think I can trust her opinion. She said that she wasn't too keen on that one. She didn't like it as much. So I might just get it from the library and see what I think instead of actually going out to the store and buying it. So onto this version. So this story, our main character, our beauty of the story is Yiva. And their mom has died, and her father raised her to be a hunter, but now that she's older, he's trying to raise her to be a lady, which she does not want to because the woods is constantly calling to her, and she's a bit of a tomboy, but she also kind of knows that she has to, help take care of her family and do her part in her family. So then, unfortunately, like in the original story, her father loses everything, and he was a rich merchant who loses everything, and they are forced to live. She and her sisters and her father are forced to live out in the woods. And her father, who was once a great hunter, has to once again get back into hunting. But he starts going a little crazy in the woods. And he also has suspicions that there's something in the woods, some kind of beast has been following him and watching him. So the woods kind of drive him crazy. And then one day, Eva finds her father dead in the woods. And she decides to leave her family to be taken care of by the suitor who's interested in her, Solomir, to go avenge her father's death, much to her sister's dismay. And then she gets caught by this mysterious. She gets attacked and captured by this mysterious beast, and taken to his castle and held prisoner. And while she's, then the beast has a request of her. He wants her to hunt something for him. he will train her and help her adapt to his forest. And the only reason that she agrees to this, even though she believes he's the one that murdered her father, she is hoping to find his weakness, hoping to find something that she can use to kill him. But as he trains her and she spends more time with him, gets to know him, she sees that he is actually he might potentially be more than just a beast. He might actually have some humanity in him. And she struggles with that, because at the end of the day, if he was human once, and I don't think that's any spoiler, because everyone knows the story of Beauty. Most people know the story of Beauty and the Beast. And like I said, this is the Beauty and the Beast retelling. That would be murder. But at the same time, this beast murdered her father. So it's something that she goes back and forth with, but then she starts to, like I said, she starts to see that maybe he was once a man, and she starts to connect with him, like with the hunting and being in the forest. So I'm not going to say any more, because I don't want to spoil it for you. But I really enjoyed this retelling, just like I enjoyed Cruel Beauty as well. I know a lot of people did not like Cruel Beauty. Now, I don't know what people's thoughts on this. I don't remember what Murphy Napier said in her video about what other people thought, and I don't remember when this book came out what people thought about it, and I didn't look on Goodreads because I try to avoid, and the only time I will go on Goodreads before I read a book is if I'm trying to decide if I want to actually read that book, or if I'm going to get rid of it, or like I did that with the Castor Chronicles. I was debating to continue with the series, or if I was going to, because it had been a long time since I read the first book, and as I've said in previous videos, I don't know if I'll ever get another shelf. So I don't have a lot of shelf space, so I eventually have to, donate sometimes I have to pick books that I'm going to either donate to the used bookstore, or I can give them to someone else. So I had to decide, was I going to get rid of it, or was I going to continue with the series and then possibly get rid of it or keep it. But I ended up continuing with the series, and I'm glad I did. I did enjoy it, and then I did end up getting rid of it, because as much as I loved it, it's not like, oh my god, I absolutely have to have the series. And that's kind of how I determine if I'm going to get rid of a book. So I don't know what people's thoughts are on this book, but I personally loved it. And like I said, one of the things I loved is how it was very accurate to the original fairy tale. There were differences, of course, where, like in the original story, the sisters were, well, bitches. And, but in this one, the sisters actually are nice, and they have a very good relationship with Eva. And they're all very honorable and always, trying to, I don't know if you would consider this a spoiler, but Solomir is kind of caught between Eva and then her other sister, I think it's Lena, also loves Solomir too, but sadly, Lena has a twisted foot, a twisted ankle or whatever, so she's a cripple, and that, unfortunately, at first, that's, like, Solomir doesn't know if he's, that, I don't know if that was actually what, at first why he went to Eva. Well, I do think the reason why he's interested in Eva is because they connect with the hunting thing. And one of the things that I liked about like, in the case of Solomir, is he wasn't a one-dimensional character. He was a decent guy. I felt a little bad because he chose Eva at first over Lena, even though Lena was totally in love with him. And that kind of bothered me, because he was like, oh, Eva and I connected more, and blah, 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 and so he couldn't, and it might have been an issue, whatever was wrong with her foot, what made her a bit of a cripple. And that kind of annoyed me, but, compared to Gaston from the Disney movie, this, that guy, that Samir was actually a pretty decent guy. And I think in the original fairy tale, the suitors, I mean, there was no specific one in the original fairy tale. It was just said that Beauty had a lot of suitors, a lot of guys that were interested in her because she was kind and really sweet and very caring, and she wasn't selfish and vain like her sisters. And like I said, the sisters in this book are actually really nice, and they're very caring, compassionate girls. And Lena is willing to, even despite her feelings for Samir, she thinks, oh, Eva loves him, and he made a promise to Eva and everything, and which drove me crazy because it was like, Eva doesn't love him. She doesn't love him. It's okay if you two love each other. I also like how what they did with the whole Beast and the dual face, the dual personalities. I thought that was rather an interesting, a little different of approach. And we also got the Beast's perspective, not as much as, I would have liked, but we still got his perspective, which was nice. I mean, a lot of YA novels, they only have the main girl, the main protagonist. They don't have any other characters, which I get why they do that, but then at the same time, part of me is like, as I get to know the other characters, I'm like, I wonder what they're thinking, what their perspective on the situation is. And because we get first-person perspective, not first-person narrative, because, I got corrected with this when I said, I did say first-person perspective, which I don't mean when the story is, I said this, I did this, when it's like, it literally is from first-person point of view. I mean, like, when we stay with the protagonist the whole time, and there's only one protagonist. Which mostly, yes, we did stay with Eva the whole time, but we also got, like I said, we got a little bit of the Beast's point of view. We saw, which I think was important in this case, which I definitely think it was an important thing with the Beast and his character, and it was important to see his point of view and to understand him and his motivation and his thinking process. And especially the dual personas in his head that were fighting for control of the body. I think that made it, oh, now I remember where I took my notes. Sorry, I couldn't find where I took notes, and I know I wrote a little bit of notes down, and I think I wrote it in my bullet journal. Like, I wrote some notes, because instead of doing, like, going by numbers and stars, I've been kind of writing down my thoughts, instead of just, like I said, putting numbers down of how I would score a book. But, so I kind of take notes in the bullet journal. But, so, so I like how we got, even if we didn't get completely his perspective, we got at least his perspective in this current situation. Like, it wasn't, the book was still about Eva, but it wasn't, and like I said, I would have liked to get more, but then I think, I think we got enough, really. I mean, we didn't need a lot, but part of me wanted a little bit more from his perspective. But I guess really what more could you put in there, from his point of view, especially. And I guess also, now that I think about it, because of his he has the, two halves and one half is like an animal, then yeah, his intellectual thoughts would be limited, I guess. So, forget that criticism. That, I think it works. It does work for this particular story. And let's see, what else was I gonna say? What else did I like? Like I said, it was, because it was YA, I got through it quickly. It was easy breezy read, didn't take me that long. With the YA and the way it's written, I can usually get through a YA novel really quickly. I mean, the closest to a YA novel that has taken me a while, and I don't even know if this is considered YA. I mean, the first series that came before is YA, but I'm talking about Six of Crows duology. And I don't know if that's considered YA or not, but And that one has taken me that one took me a while, and I'm still, I'm not even at the halfway point for Crooked Kingdom. Because, I mean, I enjoy it, it's one of those books that sometimes I have to be in the mood, in the right place to read it. Let's see, so yeah, I got through it didn't take me that long, and the pacing was good, the story, okay, so I'm gonna have to eat something. What else? So my only disappointment was that I wish we could have gotten to know the Beast Forest a little bit more. I mean, he hinted at some things, and we met 2 residents of his forest who were important to Yiva and the Beast's storyline. So, I get that. And I was but there was, I felt like it kind of reminded me of the Hazelwood. And then, you knew that this world was interesting and intriguing. There were fascinating creatures. And I wanted more of that. So I really hope the Meagan Spooner writes more. And I do believe she has, I don't know if it's already out or if it's coming out, but I know she has the book Sherwood, but I don't think it's the same. I don't think it's the same world, but it's a fairy tale retelling, a female version's a gender flip version of Robin Hood, but I don't think it's the same kind of world. But I would love to get more from this world. Maybe like what is it called? A spin-off book, I guess, or I think there's another word for it, like a companion novel that takes place in the same world but with different characters. Maybe like a Little Red Riding Hood. They could do that, because that one kind of takes place in a forest. So they could do a Little Red Riding Hood retelling, or like I'm trying to think of what's another, because although there are a lot of fairy tales that take place in woods, I just can't think of them. But I would love for retellings of that, where that take place in the same forest that the Beast's forest is set in. The other complaint was, I feel like we didn't get, it was definitely improvement from the original fairy tale, because in the original fairy tale, the only interactions between Beauty and the Beast were when he would invite her to dinner, and then he would ask her to marry him every time. And I don't know if, granted, maybe they did and they just don't spell it out for you, but I feel like there wasn't much conversing and getting to know each other, which is why I love one of the reasons why I prefer the Disney movie, because at least in the Disney movie, you saw them getting to know each other. You actually know that they spent some time together and they got to know each other, because there's a huge montage with the song Something There, where it shows them interacting, like they play on the snow together. Unfortunately, this scene was not included in the live action, I guess because it was kind of hard to control birds. But I think I would love to see that scene in the live action with the birds all over Dan Stevens in his beast form. But, she helps him get the birds to, eat out of his hands, and, she reads to him, and in the animated movie, she teaches him how to read, and in the live action, she doesn't teach him, because he just forgot how much he loved to read, and they kind of bond over books. And there's a scene where she's reading, I think it's it's poetry she's reading to him, and it's this beautiful poem that really connects with him, and he very much relates to it. And there's just a lot, and then there's the famous dance scene, the Tale as Old as Time scene, and so you see them getting to know each other in the animated movie. Now, like I said, this is an improvement because they do, spend a little bit more time together, and they bond over books. I'm glad that they kept that, because in the original fairy tale, I don't think they really had that. I don't think they had that moment, because of course girls are just meant to be dumb and housewives in that time period. And, so, I'm glad that Meagan Spooner kept the book, the reading aspect. But I was a little bit disappointed. But the only time they really hung out, the only scenes we got of them was, there was those 2 scenes, and there's that scene with the books. And then there was also the scenes when they were hunting. But, like I said, what I'm basically trying to say is that it was a little, because that was just all to get to know each other. But maybe I'm just a little too picky. And maybe maybe she really couldn't. But I wish there was a little bit more of them spending time together and getting to know each other a little bit more. But either way, I was very pleased with this book. I did give it 4. I debated not that it really should matter, because I recently did my video on how I have mixed feelings about Goodreads, and how I will still, and I admit I will still use the Goodreads, because I feel obligated to use it. But, so I gave it 4 stars, although I've gone back and forth, because it wasn't that, it wasn't that bad of a book. It wasn't a bad book. I loved this book. But I don't know. I might keep it at 4 stars, or I might give it 5 stars. I wish we could, like I said, one of the things I wish Goodreads has, I wish you could give things half stars. Unfortunately, you can't do that, which is really annoying. But I don't think they're actually going to ever do that. I don't think they're ever going to allow us to give half stars. But it could also be like the system itself won't allow you to do that. I don't know. So I think this is a great retelling. I loved it, and I hope you guys, and for those who love Beauty and the Beast, I think it's a good retelling to check out. If you're not interested, then that's fine too. But I personally think it's great. And so those are my thoughts on Beauty and the Beast. on Hunted. So, have you read this book? Are you interested in reading this book? Please, let me know. Let me share your thoughts on the book in the comment section, and maybe we can discuss it. And if you didn't like it, you can tell me why. So if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you liked it and are watching it, then please click subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you all are enjoying what you're currently reading, and much love to my already subscribed people.